Welcome to Football Scientific. It's a special Labor Day episode. Me and Tyler Tiger just got down watching the Hamilton Tiger Cats blow their game against the Toronto Argonauts. They had the lead in the fourth quarter, 33-32, and they allowed Toronto to go down and kick a game-winning field goal, 35-33. Three-game losing streak. Boom. Toronto's back in the playoff hunt, and we are reeling. We are reeling Hamilton Tiger Cats. I am Aaron Sauter, writer for Last Word on Sports. I cover the Buffalo Bills and the CFL News Hub.com. I cover the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And I'm joined by my guest host, Tyler the Tiger. Tyler the Tiger here. Pretty disappointed. Hamilton Tiger Cats should have won the game for Labor Day. And they choked. They choked against Toronto. That's the worst team to choke against. Come on, Tiger Cats. What are we doing? Choking. That's what we're doing. All right. So we're going to go some NFL news, some CFL news. We got a bunch of news to go through. Apparently it's been a busy couple of days of football. I'm not sure why we're so far behind, but here we go. First in the NFL, Dallas Cowboys. While trading Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers, we found out why they traded him, and that's upsetting. The Packers did not do their due diligence. There's a reason why he wasn't getting signed by Dallas. We're going to talk about that in a second. But Dallas agreed to a 4-year contract extension, $92 million for cornerback DaRon Bland. He has 15 interceptions in the last 3 years. Pretty good. And he's healthy. Wink, wink. That's why Micah Parsons was not getting signed. San Francisco 49ers wide receiver Ricky Pearsall is expected to be wide receiver 1 for the 5 to start the season. So 49ers should have Ricky Pearsall as their starter, for better or for worse. Boom. It looks like Cincinnati Bengals are getting ready to make a move on Falcons safety Justin Simmons. They definitely need to upgrade their safeties. And I've been saying that since the draft when they needed to get Malachi Starks, but I guess now they may be trying to get Justin Simmons. We'll see what happens there. Shiloh Sanders, kind of funny situation. They're against the Buffalo Bills in the third preseason game with Tampa Bay. He punched the Buffalo Bills and got thrown out of the game. And because of that, Tampa Bay cut him from the team, but he's still getting fined $5,000. So even though he's been cut from the Buccaneers, he's still getting fined by the league $5,000. Crazy. Kansas City Chiefs, cornerback 1, Trent McDuffie, is not expected to get a multi-year contract extension for the Chiefs because they don't want to, not making a long-term commitment to him. Boom. Miami Dolphins named their captains, quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, defensive line Zach Ziegler, fullback Alec Ingold, linebacker Jordan Brooks, linebacker Bradley Chubb. Okay, and then I will say Buffalo named their captains just two, Josh Allen on offense and Terrell Bernard on defense at linebacker. And I'm going to write an article about that here this evening for Last Word on Sports, so we'll see how it goes. Check that out, Last Word on Sports, Buffalo Bills. In Indianapolis Colts, they signed veteran linebacker Anthony Williams Jr. Remember, Anthony Walker Jr. They were working him out last week. They signed him to a practice squad, and they released defensive tackle Josh Typin from the practice roster. So they're just making some moves for depth, really. Pittsburgh Steelers running back Jaylen Warren got signed to a 2-year contract extension. He's going to be there from 2027 now. Notice they did not do it for Cam Hayward. Miami Dolphins running back Devon Achane. I've been going back and forth on this. Is he going to be able to play? He's one of my top running backs in fantasy football. And it sounds like even though he has a calf injury, he will be playing against the Colts this week. Another thing, Miami, they named their captains, and they didn't name Tyreek Hill as a captain. So that's kind of, one of our top playmakers. But he wants to leave, so it's hard to say exactly how they feel about each other. Carolina Panthers offensive tackle Ikem Akunuwu has undergone an appendectomy, which means he's doubtful to play. He's very uncertain to play against Jacksonville Jaguars this week. Appendectomy, not a great time, y'all. Pittsburgh Steelers, they named their captains defensive line Cam Hayward, even though he didn't get a contract extension. Defensive back Miles Killebrew, quarterback Aaron Rodgers, and defensive end TJ Watt. Green Bay Packers outside linebacker Micah Parsons. Okay, so in his back, L4 and L5, he has some injury stuff going on with his spine. Bad deal. Got a lot of back pain. Okay. They made a determination. I mean, that's why Dallas wasn't re-signing him. Dallas wasn't re-signing him because they knew he wasn't healthy. Okay, he went to Green Bay. He did the physical. They approved him for the trade. Now they found out he's not healthy. He's going to get the epidural every week so he can play with this back pain. Okay, so that's even though he's getting a ton of money, record money. He is injured. He is injured, and he is not really healthy to play. But he's going to get an epidural and make it work because he wants that money now. They're going to start against. He's going to start against the Lions on Sunday, one way or another. So kind of a bad deal. I mean, it'll look like a good deal on the surface, but now it's kind of looking like, well, what'd you get? You know, you got someone who's kind of on a downside of their career, and that's what Jerry Jones was worried about. New York Jets running back Breece Hall is trade bait right now, looking for trade bait. Boom. Buffalo Bills defensive tackle Dwayne Carter is out for the season with Achilles tear. I wrote about that last night and some breaking news on Last Word on Sports, Buffalo Bills website. San Francisco 49ers, former Patriots wide receiver Kendrick Bourne is mutually interested with the 49ers. They're looking at each other. They need wide receivers in San Francisco, and they're gonna sign Kendrick Bourne, who asked to be released by the Patriots. Assuming it's because he's going to go to San Francisco. New Orleans Saints, they're going to visit with former LA Chargers wide receiver Brendan Rice, who's Jerry Rice's son. LA Rams quarterback Matt Stafford still has back pain. He's lingering. He's going to start the season with his back pain going on. Okay, that may, a lot of people are picking him to win the West, NFC West. I'm not 100% bought on that. Okay, the most disappointing team of the Labor Day weekend so far has been the Hamilton Ticats. They're blowing the lead against Toronto, but they did make a few moves recently. First, they added national defensive lineman Ty Anderson to their practice roster, and they signed national wide receiver Shedler Furvius, who's from Scarborough, Ontario. He played for Montreal Alouettes from 2022, 23 to 25. He played for St. Mary's Huskies in the youth sports football. He's been brought in to replace an injured receiver for Buffalo. Okay. All right. Boom. Winnipeg Blue Bombers, they add there's a whole bunch of CFL movements here. Winnipeg Blue Bombers added from the 6-game injured list American wide receiver Dalton Schoen. Released American wide receiver Max McLeod. They moved to the practice roster American defensive line Devin Abrams. They moved to the 7-game injured list national linebacker Reda Crema. Okay, they moved to the practice roster American linebacker Jonathan Jones. They added from the practice roster American DB Jaden Woodby. Okay, Saskatchewan Roughriders add to the 7-game injury list American defensive back Marcus Sales. They add from the 7-game injury list American wide receiver Mario Alford. Both of us played pretty well against Winnipeg yesterday. They moved to the 7-game injury list American DB Antonio Brooks Jr. They moved to the 7-game injury list Dre McCray, American wide receiver. They moved to the 7-game injury list national linebacker Nick Wiebe. They moved to the 6-game injury list national wide receiver Mitchell Picton. Okay. Montreal Alouettes, they moved from the practice roster national wide receiver Kaysen Ferdinand, and they moved to the practice roster national defensive lineman Felipe Molyneux Cardinal. He's always being moved onto and off the practice roster. I don't know. Edmonton Elks signed global defensive lineman Richard Giborn. They're about to play against Calgary, so we'll see if he makes an impact on the field for them. Speaking of Calgary Stampeders moved to the 7-game injured list. National running back William Langlam. They added from the practice roster national defensive lineman Anthony Federand. They moved to the practice roster national linebacker Kalen Sear. They moved to the practice roster American defensive lineman Sean Peterson. They also moved to the practice roster American offensive line Preston Nichols, and they moved to the practice roster American wide receiver Kalen Harden. And they added from the 7-game injury list American wide receiver Tevin Jones. And they added from the practice roster Ludovic Chiquette. And they moved to single game injured list American offensive lineman D'Antonio Debris. Okay. They also added to the single game injured list American wide receiver Dominic Rhymes. They added him from the single game injured list. He should play tonight against Edmonton. They moved to the practice roster American wide receiver Dalen Bellery. And they added from the single game injured list American linebacker Adam Bighill, and they added to the practice roster National DB Ben Lavros. Ottawa Red Blacks moved to the practice roster American defensive back Bentley Smith. They moved to the practice roster National DB Eric Calambute, and they moved to the practice roster American defensive lineman Chase McGowan, and they moved to the practice roster American wide receiver Andy Riley. Okay, and they moved Milajay McGee. They released him, and they released wide receiver Ethan Winton. Okay. Hamilton Ticats, before they blew up against Toronto today, they added to the single game injured list national wide receiver Tyler Chanowski. They added to the single game injured list American defensive back Jamal Peters. They added from the single game injured list so he played today. They added from the practice roster American linebacker Braxton Hill, who got signed this week. They added from the single game injured list national running back Johnny Augustine, who played today. They moved to the practice roster American wide receiver Drew Wolotowski. They moved from the single game injured list national long snapper Gordon White. Next, they added to single game injured list national DB. No, they added from the single game injured list national DB Stavros Kasantonis. They moved to the single game injured list national offensive line Nathaniel Dumoulin Dege. Okay. More news in the CFL. Like I said, there's a ton of CFL moves. I'm not sure why they went so crazy today and yesterday, but Montreal Alouettes signed American defensive lineman Wesley Neal Jr. They are going to be a game out of first place behind Hamilton after losing to Toronto. So they're getting Montreal back into the mix. It's going to be a good playoff run near the end of the season here because in the East, because Hamilton's allowing it to be. They needed to put this thing down, but they did not put this thing down. Now they're going to be 6-5, and they're struggling to finish this thing. Okay, 0-2, 6-2. 6-5. Ouch. It's very streaky. Boom. Toronto Argonauts moved to the single game injured list. National running back. The national offensive lineman. Sauce Duxtel. Sage Duxetate. Okay. They moved to the single game injured list. American running back Deontay McMahon. They moved to the single game injured list. American wide receiver Devarius Daniels. They added from the practice roster American defensive back Willie Drew Jr. And they added from the practice roster American wide receiver Dorian Anderson. And they added to the system injured list national defensive lineman Ryan Hunter. Okay, that's in the CFL. And we had CFL Labor Day games. So far in that, we're going to review those games tomorrow and get our CFL power rankings after week 13. But Saskatchewan dispatched the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Hamilton should have beat Toronto, but came up short because they mismanaged the game. And then I got Calgary beating Edmonton, so we'll see if we can finish it off, at least with a winning record for the weekend. And there's UNC and TCU tonight. Don't talk me about college football. We've taken quite the beating on our predictions. I mentioned I didn't think I would be able to do justice of the college football. I'm not covering that full time. I don't think you can do pro football at the depth I do it, and college football is just too much in college football. I like the CFL and the NFL. I like the IFL. I like things like that. So, college football is done by a lot of people, but I get my predictions out there and it's not great. So right now I don't feel like I'm an authority of college football, but maybe I'll come along and maybe my algorithm will get better for college football. I got UNC losing tonight to TCU. Mental note. We have a short on that already. So. In the UFL, St. Louis Battlehawks re-signed several players. They running back Kevin Latulu, wide receiver Jerome Cap, offensive lineman Bradley Ashmore, defensive end Shakir Tony. Houston Roughnecks signed quarterback Jalen Morton, who's bounced around the league. He's last with Birmingham Stallions. Defensive tackle Robert Cooper and linebacker Chris Steele. So we get some movement in the UFL. See what happens there. Okay, and then the last thing we'll end with today is the ELF. The ELF had their semifinals this weekend, and semifinal one on Saturday. The Nordic Storm played the Vienna Vikings. Nordic Storm traveled to Vienna. They threw for 360 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Ouch. They only had 25 rushing yards. It seems like one of those Toronto games right now. Tons of passing yards, only 3 rushing yards, 2 sacks. Vienna Vikings came out. I mentioned they were more balanced. They threw for 260 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's huge. And they ran for 145 rushing yards and 1 touchdown. And also had 2 sacks. So there's more balance in their offense, and that allowed Vienna to get the win. 28-20. They're going to the ELF championship game once again. I think for like the 3rd time in 5 years. So they're pretty regular. I'm going to the ELF championship game. Second semifinal, Stuttgart Surge traveled to Munich Ravens. Munich Ravens have been one of the hottest teams in the league all year, but Stuttgart Surge have been one of the higher scoring teams. The Surge and Ryan Hennessy threw for 246 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Not a great day, not a horrible day. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. The Surge did rush for 105 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. That's going to make a difference. And here's the big number. They had 8 quarterback sacks. Their defense was on fire against Munich, okay? Usually Munich is a team that has a great defense. But Stuttgart Surge brought it, 8 sacks against Munich. Munich Ravens had 130 passing yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, and their quarterback got sacked 8 times. They had 154 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns and no sacks. Stuttgart Surge wins 27-13. So then next week in Stuttgart, Stuttgart Surge will be hosting the Vienna Vikings in their stadium for the ELF Championship. Stuttgart Surge is the 2nd year in a row Stuttgart Surge has made it to the game. See if they can win it this time. I don't think so. I think Vienna will win this one. I think Stuttgart Surge will be like the no offense, Buffalo Bills, Denver Broncos, Minnesota Vikings. So the ELF, they'll keep losing in the championship game. But it's way better than what they used to be. They used to be like the bottom team in the league. I think they went 0-14 at least once, 0-12. So factor in a championship game again at home. Gives them a big lift. If they win that game, that's going to be pretty amazing. I do think Vienna's the better team right now. But it should be a fun game anyway, and that's going to be next week. So we'll talk about that as we approach next week. So that is an update of professional football on Labor Day. Hope you're enjoying your Labor Day. I practiced this morning. Cleaned the house, working on some stuff. Working on football scientific stuff, working on articles, working on lesson plans, working on grades, whatever I got to work on, you know. Listen to the Tiger Cats games. They blew the game against Toronto. That's pretty sad. Hopefully Calgary beats Edmonton tonight. And let's have a 2-1 record for the CFL. Also, like I said, UNC, TCU. Bill Belichick makes his college football coaching debut against TCU tonight at UNC. We'll see how it goes. Remember, check out Last Word on Sports for great sports articles. I cover the Buffalo Bills on there. Check out CFLNewsHub.com. I cover the Hamilton Tiger Cats on there. Boop. And then make sure you like the video. Boop. And you subscribe to the channel. Boop. We get more subscribers every day. We're building up every day. Okay. So it's going to be pretty crazy. I believe after today, tomorrow we'll do a power rankings of the CFL. It's going to be a lot of NFL the rest of the way here this week as they prepare to play next weekend, Thursday, Chiefs and Chargers. So we'll see how it goes. Okay. It's Football Scientific, and this portal is now closed. Bye, 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 bye.